Welcome to Striking for Beginners, a short guide for new members of the National Education Union, anyone who's unsure about any of the practicalities of trade unions, striking and picket lines, and anyone who's still a little undecided about whether they can support our strike action, the next wave of our strike action in support of our campaign for a fully funded pay rise. So we're going to cover what is a strike, why people strike, what's the trade union, what's a picket line, striking and the law, and the real cost of striking. Now, I'm going to apologise now. This is quite a bit of mansplaining, and I am using a Year 4 teacher voice, so apologies for that. Striking is as old as working. In fact, our first recorded strike was industrial action taken by workers on a pyramid. Was recorded. They went out on strike for better pay and conditions, and apparently won. You may have heard of the Match Girl strike in East London, 1888, where young women struck and organised together to win safer working conditions for themselves, and won. More recently, 1977, just down the road in Brent in Willesden, next to Dollis Hill Station, a small photo processing lab called Grunwick saw a major strike organised by women working there, who managed to mobilise tens of thousands of trade unionists from across the country to come out and support their campaign for union recognition and better conditions. Of course, the miners' strike of 1984 to 1985 still casts a very long shadow over modern union history. It was a very bitter dispute and also led to punitive anti-union legislation, which we're still struggling with today. But happily, there's more recent new generation of young activists who are making connections between workplace organisation and collective action, linking to campaigns for social justice and environmental change. So, why do people strike? Well, some of us can buy power and influence to solve our problems at work, but most of us can't. Our wealth and our power come mainly from our work. So we can exercise power by temporarily refusing to work, by going on strike. And we multiply that power when we unite. Unity is strength. Refusing to work on your own is unlikely to solve your problems, but uniting with others who share your struggle, well, that makes you much more powerful. Striking is a negotiating tactic. People strike for all sorts of reasons. And the more support you have, the more powerful you are, and the more likely you are to succeed in that negotiation. And what's a trade union? Well, there's a dictionary definition, but a trade union is basically just a group of workers who come together for their mutual interest and benefit. A trade union is unity. The first UK unions were legalised in 1824. In fact, there's a 200th anniversary coming up. Now, some see their union subscription as an insurance policy in case they have problems at work, and of course it is that. But a union like the National Education Union can also offer much more as well. And if you're a new member and you haven't done it yet, go to the neu.org.uk website and see what your union can do for you. And your union is not just a service that you buy. Being in a union isn't like paying somebody to do something for you, like a hairdresser or a barrister. There are some paid officers and there are experts to advise and represent and help you to organise, but most of the work of a union is done by its members, supporting each other and acting democratically. You are the union, which brings us back to striking. Now, technically, legally, striking is a breach of your employment contract, but that doesn't mean it's illegal. You have the right to strike and it's protected by law. If you strike, you lose pay. You have to be ready to lose pay for any days that you take off on strike. But nothing more, no victimisation, no disciplinaries. Everyone also has the right not to cross a picket line at their workplace in order to support striking colleagues. Whether you're in a union or not, whether you're in the same contract or not, if you're at the same workplace and you want to support them, you can choose not to cross their picket line. You'll lose a day's pay, but your rights will also be protected. Picket lines matter. Now, you can strike from your duvet, but joining your colleagues on a picket line, well, that demonstrates how strongly you feel to your management and to the public. It allows other colleagues to support you by not crossing your picket line. And it should be empowering and fun. Picket lines aren't about intimidation. Picket lines are about persuasion and publicising your cause. So what's the cost of striking? Well, it's a day's pay for teachers. You can see the calculations there. In fact, the net amount may be slightly less than you fear. 4 days on strike will be equivalent to a 1% pay rise. So if we got a 1% pay rise, if we got 1% more on our pay rise as a result of the current campaign, that would make up what teachers lose if they struck for 4 days. Deductions for other staff may vary. Responsible employers are listening to their unions and phasing deductions for pay. And of course, the NEU does also have a small hardship fund available for special cases. So those are the costs of striking. What's the cost of not striking? Well, you already know those costs. Further cuts to real terms pay, underfunded pay, which of course means that more skilled staff leave, there are more cuts in staff posts, there are frozen vacancies all around us, there's more use of cheaper, underqualified staff, and all of this hits the children who need it most the hardest. And our school buildings are collapsing around us. So look at the cost. Look at the cost of striking, the cost of not striking. Which side are you going to be on? But striking is hard. It costs us money. It disrupts learning, and yes, it inconveniences families. But over the last 10 years, not striking has cost us far more. And it's cost the schools that we work in as well. And families understand that. 6 out of every 10 parents, the people who are most directly impacted and disrupted by our strike action, they support their teachers going on strike. So why bother to strike? Strikes are a union's last resort. We prefer to try to persuade, and responsible employers, they welcome constructive partnerships with their unions. But experience shows us that sometimes asking nicely just isn't enough. This battle of wills between people who care about education and the government is now at a very crucial stage, and the next few days and weeks will be essential and critical in that. We all know what is at stake in our schools. So why bother to strike? Well, because strikes can work. And you only have to look at the recent news from Scotland, where teachers who were serious about striking and who stuck with it persuaded, convinced their employers to give them a pay award of 14% over 2 years. We could do the same. Thank you very much for your support. Thank you very much for your time. Sorry it's a bit more than 6 minutes, but I hope you found it worthwhile, and I hope to see you on a picket line saving our schools. Thank you very much.